if I go to heaven, because who knows, I want God to be like, well, shit, you shot the shit out of me, girl. I knew you could do stuff, but hey, that wasn't in my plan. Like, I'm really trying to wring everything out of life. And yes, that comes at the risk of feeling shame, being embarrassed, being rejected. But I'm just not a sideline girl.
What would the world look like if everyone was told from the moment they were born, don't change a thing? What a different world that would be. I am so really thrilled and touched that you are here. So happy to have you here. We couldn't do any of this without you, and it means a lot. I have been wanting to do this conversation with Candice Brathwaite for many years because from afar on social media, she lives in London, I have admired her incredible bravery to be herself. She is a best-selling author. She has a new book out called Manifesto. I can't think of anyone who would be more able to talk about the power of manifestation. Candice is someone who absolutely walks the walk. I ask everybody to come as their most unapologetic selves, to everything. And
This is me.
Yeah.
This is me.
Why is that?
This is me because I've earned it. I typically wouldn't have worn this 10 years ago. No way in hell. I wasn't confident enough. I hadn't shed enough layers that society have put on me. So no. And I came from a household, right, that was very mean. That was like, I remember like the running line was, oh, Candice thinks she's too nice. She's too much. And when you hear that on repeat as a kid, you think the level up is to just dial it back and shrink yourself and not speak up, not wear the thing, just be as invisible as possible. And so a cape like this, although yes, it's outerwear, it's actually my innerwear. Like, I've earned every moment of wearing something like this.
I love
Yeah.
that innerwear, that it's actually your innerwear, because that's the whole point, to wholeness and to resisting the status quo that tells you you're not enough and all of that, is that it's seamless, the inside and the outside. No part of you is not you.
Yeah. And now I take dressing up as seriously as I find it actually comedic. So I wear the silly thing. I have a J.W. Anderson pigeon clutch, which no one understands, but I love her dearly. But I also enjoy dressing up because, again, I've earned that boldness and I've earned that moment to like step into a room and not care if people look twice, but also I don't do that on purpose. Like, I'm not waking up every day thinking, oh, how can I start a conversation? But I'm also not thinking, how do I not be part of the conversation? Which is typically what women, especially Black women, usually lead with. In every area of their life, it's like, how do I not be part of the conversation? How do I not bring extra attention to myself?
Why?
Safety. The first thing that comes to mind is safety. We still feel really unsafe, really unsure of who's really going to have our backs, And I've really lived that this year. As I'm going to say it to you, it's more to make a point than it is to just gossip. This time earlier this year, 2024, I found out my all-white female management team were trolling me. They were going on websites, on forums under fake names and leaving vicious comments about me. And I had been with them. They had been not just my agents, but my friends for almost 8 years. And so that's what comes to mind when I say safety, about not wanting to be seen, about not being quite sure who's for real. And it was really interesting to, in that business and in that friendship, as a Black woman, go from pet to threat. go from being someone who didn't know much about any of the industry she wanted to work in and was surrounded by women who at the time knew more than her, to go to a woman at the end of those 7 to 8 years who was like, I would like more for myself. I don't think you're capable of doing that. And watching that immediate shift, I was like, oh, okay. And I won't lie to you, it completely almost broke me.
The fact that the betrayal,
Yeah.
it's devastating.
Yeah. It really, really broke me. And maybe it would have felt less painful if we were purely just a business relationship. But one of them was even in my will. She was in my will to help look after my children should anything have happened to me.
And
So
what was the reason?
To this day,
Because you would think you're on the same team.
To this day, I've not had a phone call, a letter, an email, an apology, or a reason. And that's the other thing. It's like not feeling safe and then not being humanized enough to be warranted an explanation, least an apology. And guess what? As a Black woman, I expect that part. You know?
What do you mean by that?
As in, we've seen it play out so many times that I'm not holding my breath waiting for someone to be like, I apologize deeply for wronging you. I'm not waiting for that bit, you know? And this isn't my first rodeo. And I had to have a moment with myself where I was like, what is it about me? And this is coming off the back of me going through a lot of things in my personal life where ultimately 2023 definitely felt like the year of rejection. Just, we don't want you, we don't like you, you're not good enough, we're going to harm you in all of these ways.
In your professional or in all and everything?
In everything. And so to sit here almost at the end of 2024, this cape is actually a visual representation for how I have risen from some ashes that boy.
Well, there's so much to say. One thing I just want to say in response to what you just shared, and thank you for all that, is I noticed recently that I had these 3 incidents with 3 different people that were shockingly harsh and kind of cruel and weird and it was really, and I was like, why is that happening to me 3 times? Why is that happening? So I want to hear about why you felt it was happening to you exactly. Like, what is it about you? For me, my daughter finally is the one that said it to me. You know, my partner, StyleLikeU, my daughter, she pointed it out. It really brought up shame. And then it just made me understand, oh yeah, I'm carrying this. I'm carrying this shame of being too much. I'm carrying this shame around. So I need to release it. I need to see it. I need to face it. I need to feel it. That's why this is happening. So why do you think it's happening to you?
It's happening to me because as much as I was talking the talk, I wasn't walking the walk of truly believing in myself. And I got into a really bad habit of building a support system who propped me up. And to some degree they should, but also I was trusting people to believe in me more than I could ever believe in myself. That was never gonna work. It was just never gonna work. And so to watch the friends I've had, oh my God, the family, you know, this year, my paternal grandfather, so my dad's dad, I went to find him in Jamaica. And long story short, he was like, I never want to hear from you again. Basically, just die. And
he said that to you?
He didn't say it to me. He said it to my godfather. That's the message that came via my godfather.
And meanwhile, you had a good relationship with him in the past?
No, I wouldn't know. It wasn't good. It was very it was non-existent, because since my dad died, I've not spoken to him or that side of the family. And I don't know what I was hoping for. I was hoping for reconnection and for more education about who I am and where I come from. And he was like, absolutely not. I never, ever, ever want to hear from her again. Like, let me die in peace, basically. And so I have this year just had to cradle myself and be like, do you really believe in you, honey? Do you really believe in you? Especially when, okay, screw agents or friends. You know, we are always told that family is that divine thing. This is where this unconditional love comes from. I don't have that anywhere. I have done a great job of building it in my home and of being the matriarch of my space. And I work diligently to be the kind of mum I wish I had. But I don't have that. And so to really be rejected from every Tom, Dick and Harry and really have to be like, oh, it's Candice versus Candice. How do we feel about that? And two, in alignment with what you said, to allow that shame to sit there. To be like, oh, maybe you didn't have it quite like you had it, but it doesn't mean that we can't learn how to do it and have it. I feel like this is the beginning of my life in some respects.
You're ready.
Yeah.
You know, when we talked briefly earlier, we were both freaking out about the world and the election and everything. And I had this thought this morning, and I think it connects to exactly what you're saying, which is it's easy to hate yourself. It's easy to hate others. That's the easy path. The real winners are the ones that confront their shadows and confront the parts of themselves that they don't like or that they've been taught to not like. And works to recognize that that isn't who you are. And, you know, this goes to the exact topic of this podcast, Don't Change a Thing About You. And the number one, the question, one of the big questions I was going to ask you, which is, if we were all told at birth, don't change a thing about you, imagine the world we live in. But we're not told that. And so we live in this chaotic dark ages that's, in my belief, is crumbling, because at the end of the day, loving yourself, being your full self, and doing the work to get there, that's the winner. The ones that are fighting to believe in themselves and are shedding all those layers and willing and being beginners over and over as they uncover themselves are the winners. And this incident with you and what's happening in the larger picture is just a temporary backlash and setback. And it's actually only rearing its ugly head because the power of self-love don't mess.
Yeah. And I know it can be off-putting to so many people. I have no problem uncovering myself publicly or unraveling publicly or like doing the shadow work with an audience. I don't have to like fight myself in private to prove a point or to cosplay that I'm perfect or that, you know, I'm always on my P's and Q's. I am very comfortable saying I messed that up. I was a bitch today. Jealousy entered the chat. Those things don't faze me. But I do think doing those things publicly can be very off-putting to people who A, don't want to do that work, and B, to watch someone do it publicly and then be okay and still enjoy life. even though it's like, oh my God, all my, my family's rejected me. I'm having these personal struggles, da 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 da. I still wear this pink cape, and sometimes I feel ridiculously in love with myself though, and that's fine. I think, especially in the Black community, we're still at a place where it can be very crabs in a bucket mentality. And like, well, how dare you feel so good about yourself? How dare you have a good time? How dare you? How dare
Right,
you?
because right, and that's all has to do with the insidious layers of white supremacy and patriarchy and I think as far as speaking publicly about it, it's extremely brave, but it's also, I think, what are we doing here? Like, why are we here? Like, are you here to just hide? Or are you here to be everything that you can possibly be, which means to not feel shame around anything about yourself, to show all of the sides of yourself, and then to empower other people to do the same? Like, are we
Exactly.
here to empower people, or are we here to live in shame and hide?
Yeah, I completely agree. I often joke with my friends. I say, if I go to heaven, because who knows, I want God to be like, well, shit, you shocked the shit out of me, girl. That was, I knew you could do stuff, but hey, that wasn't in my plan. Like, I'm really trying to wring everything out of life. And
Mm.
yes, that comes at the risk of feeling shame, being embarrassed, being rejected. But I'm just not a sideline girl. I'm not a sideline girl. Like, I'm in the ring all the time, for better or worse, Like, really seeing the ways in which I can at least take a shot at the life I dream about, which, as I get older, has less to do with stuff and money and cliques and groups and being pushed up on this pretend pedestal, and more like, how do I want to spend my time? Where do I want to retire? Could I maybe buy a beach house in Jamaica with my girlfriend when I'm 60? To just do that so wholeheartedly is so important to me. And yet I still don't judge people who can't get in the ring, because there's so many layers of shit to go through. And also, the work that I've done to get to a point where I'm willing to get in that ring with myself every day, and sometimes not amongst the most supportive audience, has allowed me a line of empathy that I know for sure I wasn't born with. I, at my root DNA, am a stone cold revengeful bitch. I know this. I've done enough work to know that. But what working on myself has done has made me, every time someone hurts me in a dramatic fashion, it has made me go, and if I didn't do the work, I perhaps would have been playing the same game. So I get it. I'm not happy about it, but I get it. I get it.
Right. What that makes me think of is when I was feeling resistance around something very traumatic around my family, and that I can't be around them, and I get too hurt, I'm too triggered. And I was like, okay, I can't be around this. And I had this ping, forgive yourself.
Yes.
Forgive yourself.
Yes.
Suddenly it came out of me. It was like, forgive yourself. And suddenly I felt like I could understand them. I could forgive them, even if it's just inside. People that hurt me, or anybody, even if it's just inside. It's like, forgive yourself.
Yeah. I actually no longer wish them any bad thing or even death. I'm like, I also deeply respect how, to our knowledge, we're all doing life for the first time. And as a child who is still someone's child, be me not in contact with one or one being dead, it was so easy to always look up and think they know best. Surely they know best. Surely they know what they're doing, what's right for me. Now I have little faces looking up at me. I can flat out say, I don't know what the hell's going on here. I don't know. This is all so pretend. Like, dude,
Right.
every day you expect me to feed you. Every day you just assume this roof is going to be here when you get home from school. Wow. Wow. And so to sit with that and to now look at my parents through new eyes, whilst it doesn't erase the pain or the erasure, I can go, I get it. You were doing life for the first time. You know, I get it.
And at your level, like what you knew, like the consciousness of the world in that time.
Exactly. So I feel the freest I've ever felt. I honestly feel that way. I'm just like, I was so angry at God last year, early this year, and I kept having conversations with, I say her most of the time, where I'm like, honey, this is a really raw deal. And I don't get it. And I don't like it. And I feel very hard done by. And the words that were coming back were like, you keep looking at this empty column where every other area of your life is in overflow. Please, please, please pay attention to the overflow. You know, like,
Gratitude.
Yes. Please pay attention to the overflow. And so I'm in overflow season. Now, guess what this has done? And you're getting news hot off the press because this only happened to me yesterday. My husband read an email to me. The mother of my first cousin, my actual cousin, reached out and was basically like, your cousin's going to kill me for doing this, but you know, I think you should meet and have a conversation. Long story short, he was abandoned by my family too. And I was in the car today talking to my best friend about it, sobbing, crying. The poor driver must have thought I received like end of life news. Where I said, and I know I'm going to cry now, where I said, I am so grateful to have done enough work to now meet that child, because it doesn't matter that he's almost 40, that's still a child, and tell him with confidence, it was never you. It was never, he needs to hear that. He needs to sit with someone who shares his blood, who feels the same rejection and the same pain, who goes, you have to set that down now because it was never you. It was never about your lack or what you didn't do right or the idea that you're a bad apple or you don't work. It was, and I said to my friend, I said, I feel that overflow to have faced myself enough to now be able to provide that to someone, you know? Even though I searched for it so much myself, and it's a gift that I would take from anywhere.
It's mirroring that new beginning that you're saying you're at. Because what you're at is this, you're at that core place of self-love. Like actual. Like real.
There.
Yeah, that actual core kernel. Like you've done so much vulnerability and so much facing and so much pushing through and so much being brave and all of those things. And then when you do all of that work, eventually you start to feel this power inside.
Yeah. And I feel like the light is on. It's like a lighthouse light is on, and all the children who feel like they don't belong are coming home. And I feel like the mothership, I feel like I've been sent here to definitely heal a lot of children. And I've never even said it that way out loud before, but as I speak to you, I feel it. I'm like, oh, you're sent here to heal the kids who feel as though they're not worthy of the love, the attention, of anything. And I feel the lighthouse light getting brighter and brighter, you know? And it's come at a cost, my God, yeah. But it's also, when I talk to God, it's a cost that she reminds me I can't change. I can't buy myself out of that debt or the karmic relationship I have with my family, it cannot be changed. It's like, so what are you going to do with the crumbs?
We have like exactly the same experience, which is why I love this so much, because we all think that we don't and we're alone and we have nothing in common or this or that for whatever reasons, but it's just not true. And I think the more that we can we can connect to this commonality, the more power we have for the world to actually be a better place. I had to understand why I was erased and why I felt so unloved and I felt so unseen and unheard and unsafe. Yes, so that I can validate all of the other people, give them a chance to shine and tell them how beautiful and perfect and amazing they are in their messiness.
Yeah.
Like, that's why that's why I had to go through this.
Yeah. And it's so, I think I said it the other day to myself, like, vulnerability is the most important thread in human tapestry. And so, especially the things I'm speaking with you about, and I'm sure maybe because of who you are and what you look like and your age, for me, very much my race, speaking about how disbanded I am from especially my maternal source, comes with so much shame. Because for years, for generations, the kickback has been honor thy mother and father, la la la, you know. You have, no matter what they do, you have to be the good kid. It's you. You're the one in the wrong. You're the one that needs fixing. That is your parent. And you obey and you stay no matter the consequence. And so to be living through a time where slowly but surely everyone's raising their hand to be like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I am giving myself the liberty to build my own family and my own support system. I
Break the chain.
I cannot think of a better time to be alive. Break the chain. I cannot.
It's the greatest. This spiritual teacher that I love and listen to all the time says that we're in the greatest transformation of all of human history, because we are awakening to not the love of power, but the power of love.
Oh, not the love
so power
of power.
is not something that you can take from anyone. You've proven that. All of your courage, all of your self-awareness, all of your struggle, everything has proven you are a living fact to the fact that no one could take it away from you.
No one. And I needed 2023, early 2024. There was no way around it. It's like you get to the final stage of that chapter of healing and you cannot skip steps.
Right.
You do have to be dragged face down through the mud. It's like, you have to earn it. And to sit here at the end of this year, proud as punch, like, oh my God, I am graduating with like an MBE, a doctorate. I'm like, I am so finessed in understanding why I'm here. And also what I love about the power of that, especially as a woman, is understanding why you're here makes your yeses and your nos very clear. Something will come into my inbox or a conversation will start and I'll be like, I've done enough work to know that's not in alignment. Thank you. And everyone around you will go, but oh my gosh, it's so-and-so, the love of power. It's so-and-so. It's this brand. Candice, come on, don't be. No. And then the things that will typically fly under the radar, I'm like, no. Zoom in on that. Mark that in bold. There's something there that feels good. And everyone will go, but no one knows them or we don't. You
don't know. I mean, I live and breathe this because I walked away from being a hot shit fashion stylist and said, bye, everyone. Because if someone else said, when I first started StyleLikeU, they would say, who else is being featured? Who else? And I was like, you know what? You don't know them.
Yeah.
You don't know them, because I am going to shine the light on all of the people that you don't know. because all the people that you're shining the light on bore me.
So boring. And you know, we are
Yeah.
universally, I think now, at capacity of boring because of social media. It's good and it's bad, but now everyone's an influencer. Everyone has a platform. Everyone's telling you what's trending, who to look like, what to buy. And I am so looking forward to moving towards a less digital life.
What do you mean by that?
I cannot personally wait for the day where I can erase all my social media.
Yeah, I know. I feel that too.
I get giddy just thinking about it. I'm like, we've overdone it. And now I'm like, my God, even the discourse is on repeat. Like, you know, you just get stuck in this algorithm. And I'm like, okay, slowly, how do I buy my real life back?
Yeah, it's making us stupid.
Yeah.
And unhappy.
So unhappy. And, you know, it's just an interesting conversation to have and to see and to even notice how differently my children use it. They are very in real life kind of kids.
Really?
And I think the younger generations.
That's fascinating.
I think the younger generations are a bit like, it's cool, but so is going out and playing in the snow. Like,
wow. That's good to hear.
Yeah. But yeah,
I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear that. Because it is yeah. Yesterday I was thinking, driving around LA, there's all these cars with no person in them. And I thought between that and between AI, ageism, I'm like, fuck this.
Yeah.
You are not erasing the soul. You are not erasing humanity. Bring me the person in the car. I don't want to be, I'm not going to be in a car with no person. Like, I'm not doing that. And you are not going to win.
And I think that's why, even though I'm looking at you through a screen, this is why, like, my skin's on fire right now, because you cannot replicate that moment when you meet someone who's just energetically so aligned with you.
Yes.
There's no robot, no humanless car, no AI script can match it. It cannot be topped, you know?
It's the ultimate creativity.
Yes.
It's the ultimate creativity is the human connection. Birth is creativity. Death is creativity. Like, living is creative. We are creative beings.
Yeah.
We are every day you're creating your life. You're choosing.
Yes.
And that's also why to not be feeling like you're just getting buried right now politically, because everyone has so much power. Every single person has so much power, and it begins at home. It begins inside. So what are you doing that may be causing ultimately war?
Yes.
Like, what are you doing? How are you blaming? How are you pointing fingers? How are you shaming other people? How are you being intolerant, which goes back to social media and cancel culture and everything else? It's like, how are we? Let's look at ourselves. That is bringing in this authoritarian regime.
And that whole cancel culture, it's so scary. That one and done, you know, that
intolerance,
intolerant, that you cannot be fixed, you cannot learn, you cannot change. We, the collective, we are done with you. It's like, oh, okay, yes, there are some things that a legal system will hopefully get right. But I sometimes think, who are we, you know? And it's now trial by social media, or it's, oh, God, oh.
I know. So what's the thing that you once felt shame around, that you were embarrassed by in your life, that you wanted to go away, that you didn't like, and that when you finally embraced it and accepted it, became a power?
this is going to sound, I'm not even going to tee it up with that. It doesn't matter. And I will cry again, but it's only because it's
Keep
so
crying.
cleansing.
Everyone cries in every Style Like You interview.
But definitely me as a whole. I was just never the right type of Black woman. Because of the structure that we live in and the work that I do, it's like I'm not in any way leaning towards a European beauty standard, so I'm not fairer skinned. I don't want to grow out my hair, but I don't have like looser curls if I grew out my hair. My features are definitely West African. You know, when I was about 5, I was on a bus with my mum, but she had to sit at the back because the bus was really packed. So she sat at the back and I was at the front. And this Black guy with dreadlocks, he was maybe in his 40s or 50s. And I like to use the excuse that he wasn't in his right mind because it kind of distills the pain, but who knows? He leaned over me on this bus and he said, "Wow, aren't you the ugliest little girl I've ever seen?"
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And he was like, no one's ever gonna love you. And I was surely I'm pushing it to say 7. I'm like 6, average 6. And it bowled me over. And now walking it back, and I walk this back multiple times a year because I know other adults heard him. And what that taught me at 5, as a Black woman, as a Black girl, no one's coming to your fucking defense. Rule number 1, I was like, okay, put that in the pocket. Rule number 2, someone who could have been my dad or my uncle was so intrigued by me not being satisfactory to his eye. Okay, cool. So maybe that's something you need to fix. And that was the start of all of the self-questioning that just continued to grow. And you know, you go to, we call it secondary school here, I think high school for you guys, and then like no boys paying you attention, or boys are going out of their way to let you know how you're not what they've been told is attractive. And it just builds and builds and builds and builds. And slowly the layers of that pain started to peel off. And it started with me shaving my head, which happened when I was 17, which is quite young to make such a bold choice. But I was in New York and I saw a Black woman crossing the road and she had a shaved head that was bleached blonde, and I swore the traffic stopped for her. There was just this luminous vibe about her. I was like, my God, what is that? How do I get that? Why does she look like me? But she looked so happy to be her. Because I've been told I shouldn't be happy to be me. And I'm 17, so I, of course, connect it to the hairstyle. I come home, I shave my head, and that's the first layer. And then the years go on and I start to like wear a red lip, second layer.
What was the response with each layer? Like, how did it change?
Immediate pushback. It was like, with the hair going, my family was furious. Why would you do that? You know, now everyone's either going to think you're a man or you like women. You shouldn't have done that. Black women of your complexion should never wear red lipstick. Your clothes are too bright. You need to like wear black and grey and sink into the background. And without knowing it, I just continued to push. And I don't know when I can't pinpoint the date when I woke up and I was like, huzzah. All of the pushback, you know, when you're just like, oh shit, I'm that girl. All of the pushback has formed a person now that the world seemingly can't get enough of. I don't get that.
Well, it's because, first of all, you are so, okay, You're so unbelievably beautiful and radiant and powerful in the most loving, all the good ways. What's amazing to me is, what was it inside of you that, with all of that pushback and attempt to erase you over and over and over again, that you just kept coming for closer to the love and not further?
Two men, actually. My grandfather, so my mother's father, and my dad, my biological dad. So my mother's father raised me. Before I was born, someone tried to rob him, and they kicked in his left eye. So he was left blind in one eye and couldn't work anymore. So when my mum had me, she was still living at home, and my granddad became my immediate carer. He took me to school, he ironed my school uniform, and he loved on me so hard. Interestingly, I say my dad and my granddad were like the Venus and Serena of my self-confidence. It's as if, not as if, they knew one day I'd go out into the world and meet that man on the bus or meet the people with the pushback. And it's like they colluded between themselves, where they were like, we have to get this right. And we get this right early, and we get it right at home, because even though everything the world is going to say about her will dent her, it will not shatter her completely. So how do we do this? And my granddad was just always like, you're the best, and if you're not the best, you can educate yourself to being the best. You can learn to do the thing. You can do anything you want. I've always got your back. I remember shortly before my dad died, we were walking down the road, and he rubbed his shoulder against mine, and I was like, Dad, what are you doing? And he was like, baby, you're made of gold dust. I'm always trying to get close to you, because I feel like if I can just get a little bit of what you have, my life will be better for it.
Wow.
And
wow.
so
He saw you. He saw you.
He
saw
saw
your light.
me.
He saw you for who you were. He saw your light.
Yeah.
That's why you have such this smile.
Like, he saw me. And he's been dead now 17 years. My granddad is still alive and kicking. And it, you know, that tiny seed they planted, even though people kept trying to uproot it and throw dirt on it, and one day she just appeared and was like, ha ha.
Wow. And it really, that is just that's so beautiful. And it really shows that the power of love, like basically the power, of seeing, of hearing, of.
Yeah. Even when I shaved my head, I was working for my dad at the time, and I remember going into his office, and he like jumped out of his seat, and he was like, oh my God, you've done an awful thing. Why would you do that? And then 2 years later, I remember him saying, he apologized, and he said, you taught me something that day. He was like, I was scared of what the world would say about the idea of your beauty. He said, this hairstyle is absolutely who you are. It is, he said, every time I see you walk around that corner, I'm like, and she should look like nothing else. And to hear, especially men in our families, to hear how decisions we make as young women make them course correct, or pause and go, where has that reaction come from? You just can't buy that. You can't buy that.
You can't buy that, and you can't buy the steps that you take to be yourself and the power of that.
At all. Especially as this year has gone on. Everyone's like, Candice, you're glowing, like you look so beautiful. And I'm like, guys, it's not the outfit. It's not the gym. It's not the husband. It's not the makeup. It's the work. The inner is becoming outer. I swear to you.
I fully, I am experiencing the same thing, which is why I think aging is such an incredible process.
Yes.
It's such a wonderful, amazing opportunity to just, you know what I heard the other day? Light has no age.
Exactly. And it's so interesting. If there is one cool thing about being a Black woman, I've never been amongst the whispers of fearing aging. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. It's always been held with esteem. I'm dying to go grey. My husband is going grey rapidly, and I'm just sitting here like, come on. I want some silver sparkles. What's going on? I've never, ever sat here and thought, I can't wait to turn 40. I can't wait to turn 50. Aging? Give me a break.
It gets better. 40s, 50, it all gets better, as you can see already. I mean, you're already so there. I can't even imagine what you're gonna do in the, oh my God. You're gonna be like prime minister. I don't know, like, I can't even imagine, honestly. It's so exciting. And what better, I mean, who else could write a book like about manifestation? You literally have lived and walked and breathed it and are doing it all the time. Like it.
And you know what? I'll use this time to say boldly, you are definitely part of my manifestation, because, you know, my next step is to move to New York. And I said to God, I'm going to need you to tee me up with some fairy godmothers. I was like, I cannot do this alone. You know, please show me the lights, show me the women who understand, or who I can call, or who get it. And I just feel like this is so part of that mechanism.
Wow. It does happen that way when you are connected, when you're connecting to the love, like it does.
Yeah.
It comes. Well,
yeah.
Wow, that would be an honor. So your whole family?
All of them. Oh my God.
You're going to go to New York.
Yeah. For better or worse, it's just the feeling I have.
Wow.
I've got a picture
That's
of a
exciting
Black family.
for me.
Like, you know, they're sitting on a brownstone and I'm like, guys, we're coming. I'm at an age where I'm willing to admit where in the world makes me feel most like me. And it's New York. And, you know, I get so frustrated when people are like, but this, but that. I'm like, no, you don't understand. It does, the politics, the cost of living, we are fucked everywhere. When I get off that plane, I feel like a rocket. I'm like, oh, honey, you're home. And the way feeling like that makes the space respond to me. I've traveled all over the world and I've never felt that way. And I said to my husband, I can appreciate, you know, it might not be that way for you. And he said, honey, I'll give you 10 years.
Oh my God.
If we get to the end of the 10 years and I'm still not feeling it, we'll reassess. But he said, you deserve to live where you feel like you're going to vibrate the highest. So I'm going to try.
So are there any insecurities or feelings of shame or anything now that you're working on, that you're confronting?
I'm really having to work through not feeling deserving. I struggle with that. Not feeling, so the good things are happening, wow, but I'm still like that balance of being like, and you absolutely, why not you? Receiving is still, woo, woo, and receiving without like lifting the thing up and being like, is there a booby trap? What are the terms and conditions of this gift? And that one, I know maybe I'm locked into that for life, because that's how I felt like my relationship with my mother was. It was always conditional. It was always,
Mm-hmm.
I will love you as long as, but. And so when someone offers a good thing or their love or their kindness, I'm like, hold on. The first person that was supposed to do this always said the terms and conditions were always really clear. If I step out of bounds here, here, and here, I'm screwed. So what are the terms and conditions? And my friends are so patient. They reiterate, they're like, we don't want anything. We're not even thinking about return. Just have it. That's still something that's a daily reminder.
What do you do? What are your ritual? What are the things you do to try to access, like to try to release those scars and habitual patterns, things you tell yourself that are negative? Like what, how do you deal with it?
I have to sit with myself and be like, and this is, I wouldn't advise people do this because it can be a slippery slope, but I go back to but you earned this. And not just through the trauma, you give so much. You're constantly giving without even the idea of terms and conditions or what someone can do for you. Of course, if that is your natural vibration, it's going to hit you all the time. People just want to give back to you for fun. So get into the habit of expecting the good thing. And
how about this? How about you are here to be this high vibrating human that you are. You've written all these books. You've beat the odds in infinite ways in terms of industry and racism and all these things that you've broken through. How about that's what you're supposed to be doing? And you're supposed to be thriving. So in order to thrive, you have to receive. You have to be supported. You have to keep going. Like, look, there's so much more.
Yesterday, I was at a fancy ball where I wore this cape, and Black women kept coming up to me and just like holding my hands. They were all older, so I know God hears me. She hears me. And they were holding my hands and they were like, the rhetoric was all, we have you every step of the way. We know this is tough.
It's a sign. It's a sign. You're being led.
Yeah. And
it's the universe talking to you. It's love talking to you.
Yeah. And these older women are being so gracious because they say, we would have died for a version of you 30 years ago.
Right.
And now you are here.
Exactly.
We will let no bad thing happen to you.
Right.
Just go. And sometimes, again, I'm getting teary-eyed. Sometimes all the trauma, all the pain, all the not feeling loved, there is a part of Candice Brathwaite that is like, and who am I to be loved so fully? It can be overwhelming.
There's nothing you have to do. You're here. When you think of the infinite amount of things that have had to go into place for you to be here. Just like a flower or a tree, or like the beauty, the perfection of all of it, a leaf. Like, you're the same.
Early this year, when I was going through it and I was having the conversations with God, why would you do this to me? Why all of these fractures in my family? And that voice got so annoyed. And one day she came back as I was journaling, and I simply wrote out, I don't care how you got here. I just needed you here. And you keep spending so much time whining about, well, why are they not? And why? She was like, I could hear her shouting. She was like, irrelevant. I just needed you here.
It's resistance. You just gotta let go.
Let go.
Let go of the resistance. Let go of the tug of war. Like just.
Go. This is a full circle conversation because you've helped me understand. Maybe that's why I feel so good this year. Because when I went to Jamaica and my granddad was like, I never want to see her again. I cried in my best friend's arms because she was there with me. And I said, I've carried this for 17 years and this does not come home with me. And I remember speaking to my dad out loud and being like, I love you and hopefully I'll see you when I see you, but you stay here too. And, I sent good wishes to my mother, whom I will perhaps never speak to again, but I was also like, I free you. And in freeing her, I freed the bondage she had on me. Like, everyone go home.
Wait, I mean, I was going to ask you, what's your greatest act of self-love that you feel you've ever done? I feel like you just answered it.
Yes. Yeah. Leave.
That's it.
Leave. Telling people to leave and me leaving. Doing the leaving broke my heart. And it caused such anger and violence for a short period of time. But I said, I have to go. I have to go. And I have a dear friend who's a tarot reader. And I remember she read my cards and she said to me, Candice, I warn you now, you cross that bridge and you burn it. She said, you never ever, she said, you do not even swim back. Am I making myself clear? And I made her that promise 7 years ago. And I never looked back. To choose you to that level is the highest form of self-love.
It is.
That only those who have had to do it will recognize. To choose you to that level of discontentment, to that level of rejection, to that level of community gossip, to that level of,
feeling alone, isolated.
So alone. Oh my God, you're going to make me cry. So alone. So alone.
And so misunderstood. But then what you're saying is I matter. I'm not going to, for me, it was really life and death.
Same. I knew that with every bone in me. And I knew that friction and that anger would destabilize anything that I had that was even halfway good and would push me into such a dark place I could perhaps end my own life. I said, no. No. And as painful as it's been, I would do it all over again. No regrets.
Me too.
No regrets.
It's impossible to go back because the power of that self-love is so much bigger than it's a form of betrayal to yourself to not do it. It's a form of self-hate.
Yes.
You have to feel that love inside to be able to do it. That's the infinite strength. Like no matter what happens, you have that. But you can't feel that if you're in something that is where that is self-hating.
Yes. Yeah.
I know. It's so exciting. It's so friggin' exciting. What does self-acceptance mean to you?
Self-acceptance. It means accepting the bits that you don't want people to see. The whole of you. So not just that I'm so kind, oh no, I struggle deeply with jealousy, although I've just reframed her because you cannot be jealous of something you don't want. So when she comes into the chat, I'm like, you want a slice of that cake. It's not about the person, you just want that experience or maybe to hold that thing. And how do you do that in a way that's kind to you and everyone around you? It's about owning all of you. All of you.
Exactly.
And even understanding that the people I will perhaps never speak to again, there must be times I gave them hell. I mean, rightfully so, but that's who I am in all ways. And it's all self-acceptance for me, though, is also understanding I'm perhaps not going to want to accept myself every day. Some days I'm just
Right.
like, when you do a hard reset on your iPhone, holding the 2 buttons down, like, oh my God, let's start this again. Because I knew better and I didn't do better. I'm like, okay, today was not the best. It's about owning all of that. And now for me, the beauty in that is being quick to apologize or quick to own it. Or like, especially with my kids, oh my God. As someone who did the leaving to save themselves, I would hate to be the reason they thought they had to leave. So now I'm like, Mummy was just under pressure this morning and that tone wasn't for you. I was too sharp. I was wrong. I didn't listen. All the portals of communication are open so that they can see me in my whole form, and they can even see the scared parts, because that's where my elders messed up. I know it all. No. I remember living through, my son was too small, but living through COVID with my daughter, who was 7 at the time. She watched the news with us every night. And my friends were aghast. They were like, Candice, she's a baby. I said, I'm doing COVID for the first time. I'm a baby too. I ain't never seen this shit. We are
Right.
babies together. You know?
Right.
And
showing your vulnerability to them
yes.
it gives them permission to have their own.
Yes. And guess what? Unlike the way I was raised, Mummy is not always right. And don't you ever fear me so much that you feel you can't correct me. No,
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, that would scare the hell out of me. No.
That talk about breaking the chains of the future.
Yes. Yeah. I'm so grateful to the universe for providing me with all of the people, all of the women who I get to pick from, so I can devise this beautiful Frankenstein-like mum who's doing it so different. Because like you said at the top of the conversation, it would be so fucking easy to just revert, not only to just revert and do what was done, but then go, well, it happened to me. What do you expect?
The hardest thing is to admit you're wrong and love yourself and be fine with it. You did the best that you could.
It's so true. Oh,
and when do you feel the most beautiful?
When I can see my daughter, she'll be watching me get dressed up, and I can see her in her brain just being like, God, my mum is so everything. My daughter said she Googled me at school. She was like, I had to show my friends your dress for the Wicked premiere. Like, I just wanted them to see you. And for kids who are so young and so malleable by the idea of the world's westernized beauty standards, for her to want for me to be seen, to show me as like, well, this is my version of beauty. Look at my mum.
What a complete full circle from what that man said to you on the bus.
I am now part and parcel of, hopefully, my son never being that man on the bus.
Right.
Or my son never being that boy who, lined the girls up in order of attractiveness at school and put a girl like me last. Like, don't even fucking do it. But, I'm so part of all of that. That's when I'm like, oh, that's what beauty means.
What would you say to your younger self who, about what you shouldn't change?
So many things, but Candice, everything you desire, you already have. And also, I would tell her, and I say this a lot, you were always right. You were always right. In this violent, scratchy, thorny family, I always felt like the black sheep, or like like I'd been dropped into the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to sit like, and I didn't have a bed. I had a mattress on the floor, and I used to sit on the edge of the mattress or lie and look at the ceiling. And I was like, in my head, I was like, one day I'm going to be a best-selling author, and I'm going to have a career like Oprah, and I'm going to be really happy, and I'm going to build a house of love. And to now be approaching 40 and to some degree have done everything that that little girl sat on that mattress and said, you're going to do. You were always right, kid. And that's how my dad used to speak to me. You were always right. But people who were so afraid of what you being right would do were so quick to the races to be like, absolutely not. You could never do that. You're thinking too big. You don't come from the right kind of stock. You don't look right. You don't talk right. You weren't educated properly. Forget it. And even though I couldn't vocalize it, because boy, I'd get a whooping, younger me was like, fuck you. I'm gonna show you. You were always right. And that is a message for all women listening, because it pays the world to tell us we're wrong. You're wrong about your body. You're wrong about your career. You're wrong about the way you feel about this relationship that's probably abusive. Your intuition is a fake thing. No, you're always right. And I mean that with everything in me, because I've watched it cost some girls I love their literal lives. I have friends who are no longer alive because they were talked out of their intuition or their deep knowing. And don't get into the habit of asking people who couldn't walk a day in your shoes for their validation.
You have everything inside of you that you need. You have everything inside. You don't need anything but what is inside of you.
Exactly.
This was really, I knew it. 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 I've known it. And I couldn't wait to do this with you. But it was really even beyond, like, it really was.
This, I'm literally sweating.
Yeah,
This has,
I'm vibrating.
I know like you're down the screen, but again, the time of which, you know, God has allowed you to come into my life, it wasn't meant to be a moment sooner. And I'm so grateful to you and the process and the trauma and the learnings you've already had, because so often I say, I just want a mother figure who gets what I'm carrying every day. I just need to lock eyes with someone who is like, baby, I hear you, I see you, I feel you, and yet still it's possible to elevate. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so grateful to you. Thank you so much for being here for this episode. I was just vibrating so high from this interaction with Candice, and I hope that you are feeling the same way. I think our ability to connect in such a human way is so healing, and I'm just so thrilled that you're a part of it. If you feel so inspired, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to comment. I would absolutely love to hear from you, and to share the episode with anyone else that you feel might feel equally as uplifted from this conversation. I'm just incredibly grateful that you are here, that you're part of the community. I and we couldn't do any of this without you, and sending you all so much love.